Yes, people, how's everyone doing? So in this video, I'm going to do a performance review of the season. The method I'm using and the way I'm doing this is the way I used to do it when I used to do analysis. It really helps to break down the individual personally, how that unit has performed, and how that unit has performed based on the other units in the team. Something I really enjoy. It's kind of a bit of a deeper dive into performance and how people and teams and units are played. So we'll start with the centre back, and I'll explain as I go through how I've done this. So centre back, obviously, and to clarify, I've got rid of players that have not played much. You would, in an usual team, obviously you would do this, but I haven't. I've just done players that play just to simplify it for everyone. So these are the three right here: Ampadu, Rodon, and Strauch. So I've rated every player out of 10 on how they perform. This is just clarify. This is not who's the best player in the team. It's based on what they've been told to do, what they need to do in their role. Have they done it consistently throughout the season? And to what level? That's what I'm doing it on. So I've given Strauch a 7.5. I think injury does kind of come into it because it's availability. But if you played a certain amount, you pass, and he did. And he was a big part at the start of the season. We cannot deny that. I think Strauch's always had one or two kind of soft mistakes in him throughout his career. I think that's fair to say. Everything else, kind of as a defender, he's got. He just misses for me that timing of aggressiveness at times, if that makes sense. Sometimes he can be over aggressive. Sometimes he's not aggressive enough. It's just about understanding and reading when to advance, when to make a tackle, when to make a foul. I think if he can fix that, I feel like he's got all the other attributes to be an outstanding centre back. There's just little times in the season where he does do that. And also what I'm doing with this, I'm not comparing each individual as well. I'm just basing each individual performance on what they've done. So I give him a 7.5. And then liken that to Joe Rodon, who, in my opinion, I think there's 2 times this season that he really annoyed me, doing the same thing where he let it run past him. I think it's fair to say he epitomises this team this season. I think everything good about this team, from a defensive perspective, has started and ended with Joe Rodon. Performs so consistent at every single level, every game. That's something that's impressed me. It's the consistency of performance, the amount he's played. This guy is never injured. I think it's underappreciated just how much this guy plays football. It's a joke. I don't think he missed a single game last season, apart from when he got red carded. And I don't think he's missed a single game this season, which, by the way, is an awful lot of football. And to play that amount and not look fatigued is seriously impressive. To have an athlete and mentally to come through that and perform at that level all season with minimal mistakes is extremely impressive, in my opinion. So I had to give him a 9 out of 10. I think as a performer, he's played every minute. He's played consistently. The first 2 or 3 games, I thought he was a bit off it. But again, he got up to the speed of it and he was absolutely flying. And then even Ampadu again. If it weren't for the injuries, I think he gets similar to Rodon when he's been in that centre-back partnership with him. He has looked excellent. They've both looked very kind of conserved on the ball. Smart decision makers. I like the balance, but as an individual, I just think he brings a bit more range back there. When he's played, there's been more range in our passing, definitely. Playing quicker and sharper into the midfield, into the 10, or even into Perot, and also executing them high, long balls quicker. I just think he looks very comfortable when he's played there. And to give him credit, they say he's had 2 knee injuries this season, and he's come back early on both of them, and not really had a bedding in period, maybe of a game or 2, is, in my opinion, extremely impressive. That, again, as a performer in this team, is something that you have to look at. So I did give him an 8. I did give him an 8. I didn't give him a higher. I just don't think quite had that consistency based on injuries, for example, as Rodon has. You look at this team, and if Ampadu's not in there, we are a worse team, but we also have Strauch. Vice versa. If Rodon's not in this team, I think it struggles massively in certain games, in my opinion. He just brings so much back there. especially with driving with the ball as well. So they're the ratings, and then I've done a unit score, and this is an important part of it. So the unit score is just an average of all three to give the unit, so the centre-back unit, a marking, a score, which we'll come into at the end. And again, as you can see there, I've given different colours. So Joe Rodon, obviously, the unit score is 8.2 as an average. He's performed over that with a 9. So he's over the average, basically. Ampadu, again, just about average. So he's kind of that neutral colour. And Strout just slightly below, but this is in comparison to the highest, right? So he's just below. That's because we've had a guy at a 9, and this is the standard. So now, looking into next season, again, you analyse each individual a lot deeper. But just as an overall basis, 9, what the Rodon season is the standard. You know what I mean? So that's what you look into. So yeah, that's the first section. That's the centre-backs. Fullbacks, very similar to centre-backs, I think it's fair to say. Now, there's a lot of similarities with these, especially the two. Sam Byram is, of course, a squad player. That's what he was. That's what he came in to do. He wasn't coming to tear up the championship like Junior Firpo is. He came in to be a squad player. But when Firpo was out, was suspension or injury, which he has been this season, and he's done a fine job. So I'll give him 7. And again, there's going to be players who are better players, respectfully, than Sam Byram, that have got a lower rating, because it's the impact they had, what they could have done. Right? Sam Byram wasn't expected to come in and be a marauding winger down that left side. Right? He wasn't expected to do that. He has had impacts more than people think. But he's done his job. And that's a solid marking for me. So I've given him a 7. I have to clarify that, because I know people are going to see. So this is slightly different the way I've done this. It's based on the individual, how they've performed in their role. Not if that individual is better than that individual. They're in a different unit. They're in a different part of the pitch. So yeah, I've given him a 7. And I think, look, the two fullbacks, I don't even think I need to get into too much detail. They are absolutely key in the way we play. Obviously. Firpo and Jayden Bogle, when they're not in the team, we look much worse. They are our balance. They are our attacking outlet a lot of the time. We've seen that comfort they both have on the outside and on the inside is very impressive. And that's it for me. It's creating that overload, finding that spare man, and it's usually through them. Excellent crossing, excellent delivery, and at times top finishing from fullbacks. And Firpo's had a few scary moments defensively, as has Jayden Bogle at the start of the season, but they've been ultra consistent for me. You know, that's why I've just edged it with Bogle, just based again on the amount he's played. There's a little bit of inconsistency in Junior Firpo based on the fact that he had a few games where he were on it. And he had the injury thing. He took a few weeks to get back into it after that, after the red card stuff as well. But Bogle has been outstanding, bar maybe the first few weeks of the season. He just has. He's got better and better. You can tell he's really comfortable in the Leeds shirt. He's really comfortable in the Leeds shirt. He's been one of the best performers of the season. That's why I give him a 9. You know. So for me, 8.5 and 9 I think is very fair. And this gives the fullback unit a score of 8.2, which is obviously the same as the centre-back. Now this is where I really like this kind of system, because people might go, Byram 7, very high. But when you look at the unit score, he's underperforming the other two, which he is, right? So it evens it out based on the unit they're playing in, based on the others in that unit and how they're performing based on them. Like I said, the standard bearer going into the Premier League is Jayden Bogle in this team as a fullback. That's the level we need to be at a minimum. So those are the considerations. But yeah, the fullbacks in this team have been a joke. They are both so key to how we play. They seriously are. You know, the way in which they've just grown this season and just constantly got better and better is a joke. Midfielders. Now, the standard in this one was also very high. Again, the three of them are very different. This is what I like about this one. There's a lot of variety in this one. And we'll start with Gruev. Now, people probably think Gruev is a little high. I've just had a look before, and obviously he had his knee injury. He played in the way of Tanaka before that. He went out with his knee injury. We lost 2 within that game, within that period. We drew 4-5 in that period. And the 2 games before he come back, we conceded 4 goals. Second he came back into the team after his knee injury, we won 3-0, 2-0, 2-0, 4-0. Now, say what you want. And then we'll look at the last games as well, where he came back into the side in the last 5 or 6. 1-0, 2-1, 1-0, 6-0, 4-0, 2-1. For me, the fact that what he brings is what makes him the high rating of 8. Again, this is not about who's the better footballer. This is about what their role is and how they've executed that role. And in my opinion, whenever he's played, he's executed his role extremely consistently. He doesn't have the crazy passing range, the expressive kind of passing style of some other players in our team. But that's not his role in this team. That's down to the manager, right? And what he wants from him. And I think he's consistently performed at a high level in this team when he's been here. So I give Gruev an 8. Likewise, Rothwell, a very different player to Gruev. But again, he was brought in. He has, look, in my opinion, he's not a defensive player. He does let trackers run off him too easily, especially when they're behind him, when they make that run behind. His defensive recovery speed isn't outstanding. I think going forward, kind of defending forward, he's really good. He's aggressive, he's forward. But when it's behind him, it's not his game. And that's the importance of different players, i.e. Gruev. That's where he comes into it. For the Premier League, you're kind of looking for a mix of the two to create that real box-to-box player who can drive with it but also defend. But as individuals, when they've come into the team, I think they've been ultra consistent. I do think there's been games, the reason it's an 8 and not 9s or 10s, there has been games where Rothwell has been very quiet. Not many, but a few. There's also been games where he's been run off too many times. And in my opinion, there's been games similar to Gruev where he's been very quiet, not really impacted the game in a way which you'd expect him to. I'll give them an 8. And then we talk about Tanaka. And I've given him a 9 because, again, the consistency of performance. He's probably had 3 poor games this season. But the level we're comparing him at is the best in the league. To have 3 poor games and after that perform consistently as the best player, to me, is just outstanding. And again, a player that is, I've said this a few times, he's so key for us. He's so key. I think we're a much worse team. We have much worse build-up when he's not there. He's the difference maker this season than last season. The biggest difference is between him and last season because we didn't have what he brought. Rothwell has also helped with that. As Tanaka being that consistent player in the team, he's shown, what has he shown this season? Control on the ball, tempo setter. You know, he's done that easily. His pass detail and pass choice is outstanding. He takes risks with passes. He's press resistant. He's an excellent link-up and build-up player as well. That's underrated. His spatial awareness is outstanding. He can also get involved in the goals and be a threat around the box. And also defensively, from a physical perspective as well, he reads the game so well. He's an outstanding scanner. Outstanding scanner. One of the best I've genuinely. He's always looking. He's always scanning. But he knows the exact picture all around him. That's why what you see often with Tanaka is there'll be a midfielder in front of him running at him. Instead of trying to engage the midfielder, he'll read where the pass is going. So many times because he's scanned and he knows what's around him. And he's putting himself in the position of that midfielder. Where would he go? Where's the guy behind me? He knows because he's scanned. He's just such an intelligent footballer. He's also got decent physical attributes as well. You know, battles, he fights. He's good at holding the ball, maintaining the ball, using his body. He's an outstanding footballer. And bar some dips this season, he'd probably get a higher score, but no one's perfect. And he's not been outstanding for 100% of the season, probably 95, 96%. It's just a joy to have in this team. is a key cog in the way we play, a key cog in what we will be going forward. You know, what can I say? Outstanding footballer. But what a midfield. And that is a unit score of 8.3. So based on that, obviously Tanaka is overperforming that. And the other two are slightly underperforming, but that's just based on the fact that Tanaka is the standard, right? And we can all agree that going into the Premier League, he's the standard. The minimum standard is Tanaka. So what we need to improve. You know what I mean? We need to maintain that standard and improve. I think that's fair. Look, I'm not going to spend too long on this one. There's one guy in the 10, and I think that says it all. The fact that we've got 3, 3, 3, 1. So there's your context. Not good enough. But anyway. Yeah, I give him a 6. I'm not spend too long on Brendan. I spoke a lot about Aronson this season. I've said all I've said. Nothing's changed on that. I know what he brings. Some people don't want to see that. That's absolutely fine. I've done videos on it. Watch it if you want. If you don't care, though, that's fine. You don't have to believe it. That's just me. That's my opinion. Every manager in the world loves a player like Aronson. That's what people don't want to hear, but they do. They absolutely love him. They're not the ideal game winner. They're not someone that they want to play every minute, but they're someone that they need in the squad. They set the standard at training with the work rate, the attitude, and they also set the standard on the pitch with the same thing. Now, people say running around because, and I've explained this 100 times, I'm going to do it one more time. It's not running around and using this running around like headless chicken. If he was running around like headless chicken, he won't play. He won't be playing. It's honestly that simple. His running is extremely effective in every way. People talk about us being a possession side. In order to win possession back, you have to be good off the ball. That's a key part of it. He is a big part of that. He's also brave. I wish, like, in a way, he's too brave because he gets the ball in dangerous areas, but he doesn't do enough with it in those areas. He's very manipulative. He's good at finding space. He's good at turning quickly with the ball and allowing us to attack more than anyone in our team. But it's just the consistency and execution. That's my problem with Aronson. He could have had double figures goals and assists this season if he had calmer brain when he turns with that ball. If he had a calmer brain, you know, that's what he needs, and that's something he has to develop if he wants to make it in the Premier League. Simple as that. The physical output in terms of his running and his work rate is outstanding, and we will need that. But in order to be a consistent performer at any top level in any league, which is not he's not done that yet, he needs to work massively on that decision making. Calmness of the brain in the final third, and confidence as well. Confidence is huge. Yeah, I give him a 6. But the fact is, the only player there is not good enough. Wingers, this is going to cause a few. I don't know where I put myself here. I'll just put myself in middle. Wingers, this is going to cause and stir a few. Now, what I will say is, generally speaking, people know this, I'm very harsh on wingers. I was a winger. A lot of my uni work I did at uni was, my analysis I did was, a lot of it was based on wingers. We played a lot of wing play. They were our best players. We expected a lot of them, so it's a high standard. So I have a massive high standard for wingers. That's my lane, I think, in football, wingers. Now, I also did like loads of, when we did our dissertation at uni, I did a big part of it on wingers. I just love it. I don't know. So, there's a standard being set here. Now, where do we start? I'll start with Ramazani. This is not an indication of him as a player. This is not an indication of what he can become, how he can impact Leeds. And again, this is not relevant necessarily. Other players are not as good as him who have higher scores, but it's what have they done based on what their role is, what they're expected to do when they're on the pitch, right? That's the key bit here that I know people are going to look at other players who've got higher rating who are not as good a player as Ramazani and go, this is ridiculous. That's fine. Don't listen. But to those that want to, Ramazani is an outstandingly talented footballer. He really is. Outstandingly talented. Is that a thing? I've just made it. He is. He's extremely talented in it. Let's be real. And I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing what he can do in the Premier League. However, He's not performed consistently this season. The first part of the season, before he got injured, was probably our best player. People talk about he's not had enough minutes. BS. BS. I'm not buying that for any player. He's had enough minutes. They all have. I've seen him come on, impact the game in 30 seconds. So that's not true. I've seen him do that on more than one occasion, by the way. In 5 minutes, on more than one occasion, I've seen him come on and score or impact the game massively. So that's BS. And this is football. Sometimes you have little chance. You've got to be ready for it. Same for every player in the world. You've got to take your chance. And there's been too many times this season where he's not been that consistent. He's come on, he's been on for 15, 20 minutes. He's not had the impact. He's lost the ball a few times. He always works hard. Always. Very important thing. He always works hard. But it's just the decision making again, that understanding the game a little bit for me, that Ramazani needs to build. Talent is obviously there. He can go so high in his career, I believe anyway. I think he's got every attribute to hit high levels. But I've not seen it consistently. When I saw it, I was like, oh, wow. And when he came back, again, context being, it takes time to come back into it. And then you've got Solomon and Dan James, who at that point are performing extremely well every week. It's tough. So I give him a 6.5. Again, I think when you look at the unit we've got here, that's fair. Nonto, similar. For me, grew into the end of the season. Had a really good kind of, was it like November, December, January time? I can't remember. But he had a really good period in the season. Again, it's the consistency of it. It's too many times in the mid to late season where he started and he was fine, but he didn't quite have that edge that James had. He didn't quite perform at that level. And as a talent, he can do that. James isn't a more talented footballer than Nonto, but he's playing better consistently. Nonto has not really found that consistency. And apart from two key parts of the season, I thought at the end of the season he was outstanding. And there's an early middle part of the season was also outstanding. If you can replicate that for a full season, his numbers and his performances will be out the roof, whatever it is. We'll take the roof off. There you go. But that's it with Ramazani and Nonto. It's just a consistency thing. If you get 15, 20 minutes, take it. And I've seen both of them do that this season at times. I've seen them come on instantly and impact the game. But too many times I've seen them come on and not do that. So it's just a consistency thing. And I'm hoping to find that in the Prem because we need them to. Because they're so talented. And their ceilings are so high. So hopefully we see that from both of them. And I have confidence we will. And then let's talk about the other two. Solomon, I give a 7.5. People might think this is harsh, but there was a period in the season where he wasn't good enough. I'll be honest. He started all right the first two games. But after that, I don't feel like he gave us what he could. The context being that he hadn't played in a year. But again, that's not my problem. That's the club recruited him to play. He started, so he's there to play. He just couldn't find that consistency for me at the start of the season. But the last 10 games, and the middle part of the season, in the last 10 games, I mean, he was our best player. Just was. When he's on it, you could tell. When he's on it, his level's above the league. It's clear. It's just about, again, finding that consistency. And that's been it with the wingers for me. I think they've all had moments or periods of the season, even 5, 6, 7 games, where they've all been outstanding. There's never been a consistent performer throughout the season until we get on to Dan James in a minute. That's why he's hired. That's why he's the standard bearer in this front four behind the striker. Now, so yeah, I think Solomon is extremely exciting when he's on it. His ball retention is insane. He's quite different to Ramazani and Nonto. He's, like I said, he retains the ball. Is a lot about the build-up, the interplay, using other players to create space, finding spaces off players, using 1-2s. That's what he is. That's the type of player he is. And again, he's always been trying to find that confidence, having not played in a year and almost retiring, by the way, which is what he said. So yeah, I give him a 7.5, which is still a very good score. But had he had been at the level all season, obviously it'd be much, much higher. Still a very good season for him. Very good. And then there's Dan James, who he's up there. He's definitely up there for Player of the Year. 100%. Top 3, 4. 100%. And again, the difference with him, what he's shown me this season is just full consistency throughout. He's always been involved when he's played. I think he had a small period where he didn't get any goals and assists. Apart from that, he's been ultra consistent. Has there really been a player more consistent than him, particularly in the front 5, 6 players? Not for me. The way in which he's adapted his game as well to not only be kind of a runner, but someone who can find dangerous spaces inside as well. Use his interesting technique to score unbelievable goals. He can be frustrating at times, but he's just such a constant threat, even when he's not playing well. The fact he's that quick, and the fact that he's always on the last man and direct, makes him a constant threat in any game. Because even if you're not playing well, you cannot take that side of it away from him. He's always got that. So that's what's made him consistent. There's been games where he's played well, where he's scored. But that moment is what matters, because that's the moment that wins you the game. So for me, a joy to watch this season is Dan James. Shame about the injury at the end. But yeah, I absolutely love him. What a player. What a player. And what a tool he'll be in the Premier League, by the way. I'm still not sure how it looks with the wingers in the Prem. No idea. But what a tool. At least 3 of them, if Solomon's here, 4. But what tools we've got here. Tools as in stuff to use, not as in their tools. But yeah. Unit score 7.4. I think that's about fair for this, to be fair. And then the final ones, before we get into the final bit, and I'm not going to say too much of Matteo. I spoke about him too much. There's too much stuff about him this season. I just feel for him in that sense, honestly. Like, he's a young man with a lot of hype, rightfully so. He was excellent in pre-season. He showed glimpses last year in the Cup. Started really well. Tailed off, lost his confidence, didn't get in the team, probably felt hard done by. That's fine. He's a young man, he's confident. Joseph needs to play. I want him to play. The best for him. So hopefully he can find consistency and just reach that potential that he clearly has. He clearly has it. But yeah, I'll leave that with Matteo. Big up Matteo Joseph as usual. But yeah, Joe Pro again, goal scorer, assists as well. His weight of pass, by the way, is so underrated. No one ever really talks about it until recently, but it's so underrated. His weight of pass is a joke, and it's a hard one to thingy. I've given him similar to Solomon because I do think there's areas in the season where he's been outstanding, but areas of the season where he's been really quiet, which is frustrating because you know what he can do. You know how he can be effective, and he's the type of player who you kind of need the team around him to help him out. You know, and at times we haven't, which has affected his performance. But there's been times this season where he's been unplayable. I mean, come on. Stoke game is one, for example. He's so many times this season where he's come up with massive goals, great assists. He just lacked some consistency in the performance. And again, this is a performance rating. It's not a goal scoring rating. The goal scoring rating has got high because that's what he's there to do. But he's also that he has different. Let's not pretend he has a different role as well. He's not just there to score goals. Not in this system. He's got a different role, and he's not done that other bit as much as I'd like. But when he's done it, he's looked outstanding. So I give him a 7.5. Unit score of 6.5. So obviously Joe Pro slightly overperforming. Matteo Joseph slightly underperforming. So yeah. So that comes to this, the final bit, and this is how my workings have done. So I've averaged out each unit score by 6 because that's how many units there were to get a team average of 7.4. So that's the average unit performance this season is 7.4. And based on that, I've got a little thing here, a color-coded graph of who's overperformed and underperformed that 7.4. So overall, you can see the areas that have underperformed it is the number 10, but that's only one player. Striker as well. One underperforming with Matteo and thing. The wingers are quite neutral. quite balance himself out with a few players not quite being consistent. As you can see, the key areas this season have been that midfield, centre back, and the fullback. Yeah, that's just a little. And the team score of 44.6 out of 60 is pretty high. And this is what I used to do when I did analysis. Like, this is what I used to do. It's so fun to look at each individual area of the pitch and see how they're performing. Where you look at this and you go, right, maybe we need to improve in that attacking midfield role. Maybe we need an outstanding winger. Maybe we need a striker. That just helps break that down. And then even more, this is the individual part of it. So they're the numbers of the players. Based on that team average of 7.4, here's an individual score based on that. So as you can see now, it helps me look at that and just go, right, who has underperformed and overperformed this season based on the average? And it's clear. The ones that stand out are the number 6, Joe Rodon, Tanaka 22, Dan James, Bogle, Firpo. And then the decent ones that have been all right, but looking for more consistency, Joe Perot, Solomon, and Nonto as well, the 2 midfielders. And it's clear where we need to improve. Or they need to improve. So yeah, this is just, I hope you enjoyed it. Slightly different in the way I've done it. This is how I like to do it. And of course, in an actual team, I do the subs as well and all that, because that's all part of it, right? And I'd also break down even more, but I'm not going to do that on this because I don't want to bend all your brains. I do position, not just winger. I do right back, left back. Yeah, CDM, number 8, attacking midfield. I do all that. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Slightly different approach to it. Hope everyone enjoyed the way I did it. Let's go back to this as well. And that's fair. I think it looks about right. It's a high-performing team, is what I'd say. A team average for each section of 7.4, 44.6 out of 60 is an absolute joke. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys in a bit. Stay tuned for more. Bye-bye.